From this illustration, we can see that in this single trade transaction, John is in fact the final buyer and Barry is the final seller. Tony, on the other hand, acting as both a buyer as well as a seller, or a middleman who buys from Barry and sells to John. The important thing that we should know here is that there are two separate payment contracts exist in this single trade transaction. The first payment contracts bind two main parties, that is John and Tony, and this first payment contract is called the Master LC. And the second payment contracts bind the other two main parties, that is Tony and Barry, and this second payment contract is called the back-to-back LC. Under these two payment contracts, John and Barry has no direct relationship because John here is not a party in the second payment contract or back-to-back LC. But Tony here has a direct relationship with John as well as with Barry because Tony is a party in both of the payment contracts, that is in the Master LC and the back-to-back LC. Tony is the beneficiary or a seller in the Master LC and he is the applicant or the buyer in the back-to-back LC. So Tony is liable and responsible to both John and Barry. Under the first payment contract, there is the Master LC. John is owing a payment to Tony and Tony is owing a delivery of shipment to John. In the second payment contract, there is a back-to-back LC. Tony is owing a payment to Barry and Barry is owing a shipment to Tony, which is to be delivered directly to the final buyer in the US, that is John. The other important thing that we should know concerning a back-to-back LC is that since the Master LC and the back-to-back LC are entirely two separate payment contracts, the bank which issues the Master LC and the bank which issues the back-to-back LC, both of them have no direct relationship with each other. The Master LC issuing bank only undertakes to pay a complying presentation drawn under the Master LC, and the back-to-back LC issuing bank only undertakes to pay a complying presentation drawn under the back-to-back LC. The non-complying presentation under either one of these two LCs would not affect the undertaking to pay a complying presentation of the other bank. So far, we have gone through what is a back-to-back LC, how it operates, who are those parties involved in a back-to-back LC transaction, and partly on roles and responsibility of every party. So now let us look at how the flow of documents and payment take place. Before we look at the flow of documents and payment, let's look at how the LC is issued one more time. The LC starts on the instruction of the final buyer, that is John. Then it goes to Tony, and then the back-to-back LC is issued at the request of Tony and delivered to the final seller, that is Barry. So once Barry, the final seller, receives the back-to-back LC from Tony, the next thing to happen is shipment of goods to the final buyer, that is John. Barry then presents the related documents to his bank. Next, his bank will present the documents to the back-to-back LC issuing bank in Singapore. Once the documents are received and found to be in compliance, the back-to-back LC issuing bank will pay the presenting bank and Barry will get paid. The back-to-back LC issuing bank will notify Tony of the arrival of the documents. At this point of time, Tony must swap or substitute some of the documents like invoice and draft or bills of exchange for presentation. Once this is done, the back-to-back LC issuing bank will present the documents to the Master LC issuing bank. When the documents are found to be in compliance, the documents then will be presented to John for taking possession of the goods at the port. But before John can get hold of his documents, he must pay for them either by financing or cash. The payment then will be remitted to the back-to-back LC issuing bank, and finally Tony, the middleman in this trade, will get paid. From this illustration, we can see how the documents travel from Barry, go to the presenting bank and reach the back-to-back LC issuing bank. Tony swap documents, present to his bank, and go to the Master LC issuing bank and finally reach John. We can also see how the payment travel First, from the back-to-back LC issuing bank, it goes to presenting bank and reach Barry. Then from John, it goes to the master LC issuing bank and remitted to the remitting bank, which is also the back-to-back LC issuing bank, and finally reach Tony. From here, we can see that Barry is the first seller who received his payment under the back-to-back payment contract, and Tony is the second or the last seller who gets his payment under the master LC contract.